The Director of the Division of Workforce Development, Mardy Leathers.
How about a hand for Yvonne? You know, a lot of this has happened from the many great partnerships and the work that Yvonne has highlighted, but, you know, sometimes we forget to give credit to the one who's late at night sending the emails and text messages at 11:38 p.m., or if you're in the UK, it's even later. But Yvonne is incredible, so thank you, Yvonne. Well, thanks again. It's awesome to be here, and I just want to say welcome to the 2018 Missouri Association Workforce Development Conference. Thrilled to be back, and what really is my favorite event of the year. I've been coming to this event since 2007. First time in this capacity, but nonetheless, it's always wonderful to be back at the lake or wherever MAWD is. Really excited about next year. As you see, we're at capacity at the room, so Branson creates a great opportunity to continue to grow and increase our partnership. So kudos to the board, many great friends, much respect for everyone on the board and the great work that you do. And it sounds like there's great entertainment, there's great professional development, and there's exciting stuff on the horizon. So enjoy your time, and the weather should be wonderful here at the lake. So just 6 months ago, I was granted the honor of serving, 6 months ago yesterday actually, serving as Missouri's Director of Division of Workforce Development. To be sure, I'm humbled by the opportunity and grateful to work alongside such passionate and brilliant professionals that each of you are. The work we do is certainly some of the most important work that is done in our state. In recent years, this work has gained even more prevalence as the dynamics of our labor market are changing at a very rapid pace. Leaders from across the nation now find themselves grappling with new challenges. I'm proud to say that here in Missouri, we're accepting this challenge and working to build a stronger and better labor market. I think a lot of that can be seen by who's in this room and the cross-agency, cross-partnership representations that we have. So, at the risk of being pedantic, I do want to go into a little bit of data with you this afternoon before you get to have all the fun stuff. According to a recent survey of business firms in the U.S. by McKinsey Global Institute, 63% of our jobs, 63% of the jobs in today's labor market, which is upwards of 73 million jobs, can be automated with existing technology that we have today. 20 million of these jobs could be shifted into similar occupations with limited retraining and little investment. However, a stunning 53 million, or a third of our entire labor force in the United States, will need to be transitioned over the next 10 years to new occupations, many that aren't even created yet. The same trend is occurring across the globe as upwards of 800 million jobs will be impacted, with more than 375 million of those jobs requiring new skill sets, certifications, and occupations. To be sure, the greatest impact of this latest wave of Joseph Schumpeter's creative destruction will most broadly impact low-skilled jobs. However, a large impact will also be felt on high-skilled jobs. Occupations in the medical, the legal, and professional services sectors, too, will feel the brunt of this evolution. More broadly speaking, industries such as construction, agriculture, healthcare, food services, and retail will all experience massive disruption. In many ways, it's already started. But why? Think about this for a moment. For many of us, it was not too long ago that we did not have access to one of the most disruptive technologies ever created, the smartphone. There's an app now for MAWD. The iPhone was launched January 9th, 2007. In a mere 11 years, think about how much we send and receive information, communicate with one another, interact socially, and spend our time has changed. Going back further, in 1991, for some in this room, might have been even prior to your birth, Youth 180, our lives were revolutionized by the launch of the World Wide Web. Just think for a moment how these two critical points in our history have shaped the work we do, the jobs that are available in our labor market, and how we do them. Prior to 2007, the iPhone, our Fitbits, Dropbox, Airbnb, Uber, and Snapchat all did not yet exist. However, today we can't function without many of those. Looking forward, the next 11 or 27 years, it's truly unfathomable just how different our jobs and our workplaces will look. On top of all of this, we know that we're facing the graying out of our workforce. While it's true that workers are staying on the job much later into their lives than before, this cannot be sustained long term. Since 2000, the population of our workforce over the age of 55 has grown by nearly 18 million workers. Over the same time period, our workforce under the age of 55 has grown by a negative factor of 1 million. That's a stunning statistic if you think about it. 19 fewer workers available in our labor force if everybody today would decide to hang it up and retire. Many are eligible. Why? Why is this happening? Well, a couple of reasons. Think about how our families have changed over the past 60 years. 1960, the average household in the United States created 3.7 children. Today, the figure is 1.9 children. We've simply not produced enough new people to fill the jobs that will be vacated by the wave of retirees on our horizon. This trend continues today as we see more and more of our population putting off creating a family and producing children later in life. Consider also that in 1950, the labor force participation rate in the United States was just below 60%. 88% of that included men, and 34% included women. Over the past 68 years, the labor force participation rate has landed at its current rate of about 64%. You might say, well, look, here we can see a sign of growth and progress, but I have to say not so fast. Since 1950, there's been a steep decline in participation in our labor force by males. Today, less than 70% of our population of males participate in the labor force. And I have to say that again. Less than 70% of our population of males participate in the labor force. On the other hand, over the same period of time, the percentage of women participating in the workforce has increased to a peak of 1999 of 60% and sits today at about 57%. So thank you to the women for carrying the weight in our economy. To be sure, that's an exciting data point, but it doesn't give us all the help we need. The grim reality is that this change in labor force participation rates is most especially felt by males in what economists consider the prime working years as it relates to productivity and output. Today, fewer males aged 25 to 54 are in our labor force than at any point in our history since 1940, a time when unemployment in the U.S. was 14.6%. Today, that unemployment sits at about 4.1%. This was right at the time they were coming out of the Great Depression. And yet we still have statistics that have fewer males in the workforce. Couple all this data with declining population trends, rising costs to produce goods, deliver services, and it becomes clear why automation is poised to rapidly change the way we conduct our work, especially for each of us in this room who are workforce development professionals. So what can we do about all of this? Is all the hope lost? Are we destined to live in a world of robo-cops and flying cars, Rosie the beloved maid from the Jetsons, or daily shuttles to Mars? Are we stooped to live with high unemployment rates, limited social value add, historic levels of low or stagnant wages, and increased poverty? I truly not believe that to be the case. In fact, I feel with great change comes great opportunity. We just have to embrace it. Reflect for a moment again to why you're here today. Why you choose to further your personal and professional development. Why to spend 3 days out of the office at the lake? I know it's hard. You may not realize it, but likely you did so because of your innate desire to make a difference in the world, to help others in your workplace, in your communities, and in your families. You wish to ensure you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to help both yourself and others and to help create resiliency in our workforce. This last part, becoming resilient, to me is a very important factor in all of this. In fact, I can sum up all that I do on a daily basis in my current role as our state's director of the Division of Workforce Development into one simple concept. How can I help ensure Missouri's labor market is resilient? From a systems approach, we must understand the forces of change at play, and how these forces of change are redefining our labor markets. We must understand the implications and develop strategies for our organizations, our communities, and our economies and people. To do so, I believe it's important to enact a model that aids us in cultivating resiliency in our labor market, which is made up of systems, relationships, and people. Resiliency holds multiple dimensions, which includes the ability to prevent negative consequences from occurring, the ability to prevent those negative consequences from worsening or deepening over time, and the ability to recover from negative consequences of an event or economic shock. Organizations, communities, economies, and people must become positioned in a way that empowers them to have the flexibility and dynamism necessary to emerge from disruption or shock stronger and better than before. So how can we cultivate a labor market that's resilient? Let's consider 4 key strategies. 1, how can we create a culture of resilience, an ethos, if you will, of resilience by establishing a culture that is embedded across our labor market? Such an ethos of resiliency should be at the core of our systems, our relationships, our policies, and our people. Another factor could be to become more situationally aware by ensuring we have a deep understanding, and often a scientific, data-driven understanding, of what is happening around us, what it means for us now and into the future. We should have an honest awareness of our core vulnerabilities so that we can manage and mitigate these vulnerabilities. We should identify and establish proactive strategies for the treatment of vulnerabilities that, if realized, would threaten our ability to survive. And lastly, we should embrace an adaptive capacity to constantly and continuously evolve in a way that matches or exceeds the needs of our labor market before those needs become critical and beyond reparation. Again, that's why each of you are here. So creating resiliency in our labor market certainly cannot be done in silos without integration and collaboration, love the theme, by one single hero or with a silver bullet. Rather, it requires that each of us do our part, be it in our industries, our communities, or in our personal lives, to understand the implications of and develop strategies for the forces of change that we are facing. Again, each of you here today because you're indeed leaders of Missouri's labor market. This, of course, also comes with great responsibility. We each have a part to play in this process, and I call on each of us, as leaders of our labor market, to do what we can to cultivate resiliency in organizations, resiliency in our organizations, our communities, and our people. So I'll close with this. Our 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt, is a personal hero of mine. His portrait hangs in my office. A true romantic and transformational leader, known for many things, both good and otherwise, President Roosevelt had a keen understanding of how critically important it was to look forward, to take risks, and to be adaptive. As a very quotable figure in our history, our beloved Teddy said many things throughout his years. One that seems relevant here is this: it is only through labor and painful effort, by grim energy and resolute change, that we can move on to better things. The task at hand, the responsibility before you as leaders of our labor market, is not for the faint of heart. The road will be bumpy, and failures are sure to occur. But we cannot give up. We must lean forward, we must come together, and we must do all we can to ensure our labor market is resilient so that as innovations and disruptions occur, we indeed can emerge stronger and better. Thank you. It's a true honor to be here in front of each of you today and to be on this stage and to serve each of you as the Director of the Division of Workforce Development. Enjoy the concert and the conference. There's a concert too, I'm sure, over at Captain Ron's. So what you don't know is you too will be here later. So again, thank you. Great lineup, excited about the board and the work they've done, excited to see each of you here. Enjoy the conference.